This is Aussie Afternoons with Ken Garrity and friends.
Yeah, and a very good afternoon to you too. I hope you're all having a great week. It's a bit cold out there today, but I'm sure if you cuddle up to your radio or your iPad, it will take you somewhere warm. We're going to Africa today, all points south, and I've got a very good friend of mine from African Pride, David. Good afternoon, David.
Afternoon, Ken. Yes, we go back a few years, don't we, I think, between us now?
I'm only 36, remember, on the radio.
You are 36 on the radio. Thank goodness there's no cameras in here.
Welcome anyway.
Thank you.
Despite what you said. And we're going to go around Africa, and if you're interested, we're going to feature anything from the south of the Sahara to the tip of South Africa without leaving the comfort of your own armchairs.
African Pride have been creating holidays and safaris to Africa for almost 30 years and are experts in knowing how, when and where to make the best personal holiday experience to suit each individual traveller. From the iconic Great Migration to the very best way to explore Cape Town and the Garden Route, and when best to visit the majestic Victoria Falls to the most magical safari destination to enjoy the perfect sundowner, we know it all. Contact your local independent travel agent or call 019 046 19428 for your own individual holiday to Africa.
There we go, African Pride. And the gentleman who runs African Pride is right in front of me. David, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Fresh from a visit down to London last week where I was talking to some customers about Africa holidays and Africa trips. And I think one thing's for certain is that there's a lot of demand out there. Many people want to go to Africa on holiday. And why not? It's an amazing destination.
Everybody's looking for an experience now, aren't they? That's the word, isn't it?
That's a really good word, and I would agree with that. No matter where in the world people are travelling, it's now more than just, I think, even a holiday. You're right. It's an experience and they want to get something more out of it. And Africa ticks those boxes.
Okay, and we're going to go back a few years, you said, and I'll take you up on that. Where did we meet?
I first went out what's called on the road, so visiting travel agents for a company then that Qantas Holidays, which was Australia and New Zealand, particularly Australia. Yeah. And I was visiting travel agents there, talking about that destination and their products. And we first met at that time. So almost 40 years ago, if we say it quickly.
Yes. This is Carlton Travel Days in Sale.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of your listeners will remember that. And then I stayed in that long haul side of the business ever since, dealing with Australia, New Zealand, Asia, USA and Canada, Latin America and Africa for the past 15 years or so.
Yeah. But you had I'm going to say a modest beginning. You started off in Preston working for the local transport company.
There's nothing modest about Preston, I can tell you that for now. But,
I did. Magnificent bus station.
I did. It has iconic now.
Yeah.
I was a young 16-year-old with O levels as they were, no, not GCSEs.
You could say GCSEs,
O levels, and I was leaving school on the final day, and the careers teacher offered me this little piece of paper with a job suggestion to apply for a junior management trainee at Ribble Motor Services Limited.
The old-fashioned buses. Double-deckers went up to Blackpool and all those places.
They were huge at the time, but they had a big travel division. And as part of that management training, I went into each department of the company. So, finance and operations and fares, but also engineering and then the travel side. So my 3-year scheme was up and I had to try and decide which department I wanted to go to.
It wasn't accounts, I can tell you.
It wasn't accounts, no. And whether they wanted me. So I asked for travel and they said yes. And so when I was then 19, I joined what we now just, I suppose, called the travel industry, working in a department there looking after group holidays with newspapers, and then moved into one of the retail travel shops and worked my way up there for the next 7 or 8 years.
The front line.
Great, serving customers, selling a lot of travel, being very lucky to travel on some amazing things. And because we did a lot of newspaper-led travel then with the Evening Post and Lancashire Gazette and all sorts of papers, we actually got to go on things like the QE2, the old QE2.
Oh, wow.
I've been on Concorde twice with that company because we chartered it for some of the newspaper trips. Right. So we did a lot of things that were just more than being a travel agent. Yes, we sold lots of holidays, but we were quite innovative. We did big events in Preston Guildhall, which is a huge, nearly 1,500-seater venue.
Every 20 years.
So, very good. There you go. Only Northerners know that, don't they?
Yeah,
But
Preston Guild.
Yeah.
Has it gone? Is it
no,
still
it's still
around?
happening.
Yeah.
The next one is in 2032.
Okay, thank you
There
very
you
much
go.
for that. Yeah.
And but we did big events with Jim Bowen. Remember Jim Bowen from Bullseye?
Bullseye, yes.
He hosted a big event with us. And Annika Rice, in her early days of when she was on whatever her program was called. What was it called? Annika Rice. Was it Treasure Hunt, was it, or something?
It was. I was going to say, look at my bum from a helicopter, but you can't say that on air.
No, you can't. No, and we won't. So, yeah, we were quite innovative, and it gave me a really good grounding in travel as a good travel agent, but dealing with a lot of high-end long haul, and I fell in love with it. I really did.
Well, long haul is my forte, as you know, and I've been on several trips with you as well, and survived, and you have as well, so it's good. But yeah, that's where we first met quite a few years ago. But travel is not travel as it was in those days, because you used to know Fred at the end of the line. Now it's a computer, or it's a girl that's just been shoved on the telephone lines, who half the time is just tapping away for what you want. But it has got characters like yourself in the business, and I love it because they're still around.
I think you're right, and I think I'm very mindful now that anybody can sit at home, tap into a computer and book a holiday to many different places. And I think if you're going out and flying and go to a beach resort, I can see where that comes into its own. But overriding all of that, I don't think there's anything that beats a good quality travel agent with knowledge and experience to help, advise, guide, suggest, maybe even try and sort of say, don't go there because, and use their experience to make your individual holiday, which, you're spending a lot of money on, the right experience for you, because what you want is different from what someone else will want and someone else.
And it saves you buying a picture in a brochure that might not be what you want at the end of the day. And plus, you're getting the experience for nothing, and those people are either on the high street or behind a phone like I am. I'm at home now, and I work, this is Ken Garrity Travel. I work from home. I'll still love doing travel after all these years, and it's great because your knowledge then comes across. I've got a guy going out to Cape Verde today. I went through all his the forms, the ease forms they need, any injections, that sort of thing, and he's now gone off happy, and he that's exactly what I want to provide. Plus, as I say, independent travel agent do that for you.
I agree. Knowledge, service, expertise, and that isn't available in the same way online, although I get they have their place. We're not dinosaurs, Ken. Technology has moved on, and we all embrace it, but I do think, as I say, that one-to-one personal knowledge and experience is well worth it.
And to say that, we're going to take you all around Africa today. So I'm going to say Hadari.
Oh, well done. Thank you.
And Jambo Bwana.
Keep going.
And the only other one I know is Asante Sana.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah. So I was like, hello, goodbye. No, it wasn't. Hello. Yeah. Thank you was the word. But yeah, so welcome. And as I say, David's going to take us around Africa. Now then, I'm with David from African Pride, and we're going to take you all around Africa, starting with Kenya, David. You've been, I've been.
Yeah, we've both been, different times, never been together before rumours start. Kenya is an iconic, probably very popular with first-time travellers because it has the classic safari experience and then the opportunity to have a beach extension afterwards.
Yeah, so we fly off to Mombasa or train across to Mombasa, can't you?
You can now, yeah. But what's getting more interesting is also flying over from the safari regions down over to Zanzibar, which I know is Tanzania, and we'll touch on that later. But Zanzibar is also becoming a popular extension with Kenya. So if people go away for 2 weeks, they'll usually have a 6-night safari, taking in places like the Masai Mara, Samburu, Laikipia, and maybe some of the lakes, and do a circular route round the safari regions, and then fly down to the beach for a week. And that could be the coast, as you say, or it could be Zanzibar.
Yeah, well, my first foray into Africa, into safari, it was Masai Mara. And it was an intensive trip by another tour operator where this is travel agent, 6 in the morning till midnight, every day for a week. And you tell me that I'm on a freebie. It's hard work. However, we did Masai Mara, Kikarok, and the lions came through the camp at the night. Thank you very much, not to be repeated. But then you could see in the morning, you could see the elephants in the distance, the giraffe, quite a lot of animals there and then. But then they took us up north to Samburu, which you were just talking about. Now, that is more desert-like up there.
Yeah, it is. It's a different sort of vegetation. I think that's why when people do the circular tour, that's the whole point about doing it. You're not just going into different places to see the same animals. There's very similarities in animals, and you may see the same ones in certain areas, but you're getting different habitat, different views, different people, different culture, and so it breaks up the variety hugely in those areas. It really does.
Yeah, until you get there, you don't realise it's different tribes.
That's the point.
And the different languages as well. I was doing Swahili on you before, but they have their own local language. But then we did Lake Navasha, where the hippos are in the lake.
Yeah.
You go out on it felt like a canoe. It probably was bigger than a canoe.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realise these are the most dangerous animals in Africa.
Yeah.
Not the lions, not the cheetahs, whatever. It's the hippo.
Yeah.
And they attack.
They do. Well, they can do if you get too close, but the guides are very good. And this is the whole thing about it. You need to go with we use reputable partners down there that we've used for, we've been going in business since the 1990s. We're nearly into our 30th year. And so we know the right people to use down there. We know the right companies, and we make sure everything's done properly and legitimate and above board. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, So,
sure.
But no, I agree with you. I think once you go out on these experiences, and I also think the thing about Kenya you have to watch is because it's pretty much almost on the equator.
Yeah.
It's either hot and dry or hot and wet.
Yes. And I think wet season is May, June?
Late April into May, definitely.
Yeah.
And then they have a second one. That's called the long rains, April into May. And they have a second one called the short rains in November, December. Right. And this is where, again, you need to talk to someone who knows what they're doing in finding out when the best time is to go, maybe when the rainy season is. Now, what I don't want to do is to put anybody off for going in the rainy season, because for some people, it can absolutely suit them because it's brilliant for bird watching often and migrants in the wet season. But we need to understand and manage their expectations of what is it going to be like. When you're out on a wet game drive, what happens, or what doesn't happen. But not everybody wants to have it as 38 degrees and red hot sunshine.
That's right, especially when you have to get up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning for your morning drive.
Exactly.
The day normally comprises of a morning drive followed by breakfast. The rest of the day you can swim in the pool or whatever you do, or a walking tour. Is that about right?
Yeah, quite a lot of safari areas now across the whole of Africa will often do a walking tour on the ground, and they're very well controlled, they're very well licensed, and they have rangers and guides and everything to look after you. But Kenya and Tanzania, when we come to it, although they have some leisure days within that trip, a lot of the time they're actually spent travelling between the different reserves. So some days you will get up and have a breakfast and go out on a game drive, but that becomes your travelling to the next national park, for example.
Yeah, and so it's not just A to Z. It's like you see things en route, don't you?
Oh, you will. You'll go through villages and towns and stop off and do different things. But to get you from A to B, you need to be driving those distances. So you can fly them, which is a little more expensive, but you have less time on the road. So again, if that interests people, that's easily done. So it's a combination of being on the road in the vehicle, through the towns and villages, and then you're in the parks with the game driving and the game viewing, which is where the excitement really builds.
And if you get a good game driver, I can remember the guy was called John. It's probably not his real name, but he was called John. We went to his village, met his family, and it made it. It's just like you're not just driving past, made it. But in the background, you've got Mount Kenya. But if you go further south, Amboseli, you've got Kilimanjaro.
Well, Kilimanjaro is just over the border in Tanzania, but one of the best places to see it, with that iconic view of greenery in the front, the mountain in the back, in the sunshine with snow on, because it goes up to 19,000 feet or so, and elephants in the front that are eating the grass in the marshy swamp. It's that view that you often see in brochures and on websites. That can be done. That can be arranged right on that Kenya-Tanzania border, and it's a lovely experience. And you can fly over there as well. I've flown over it and at about probably 500-600 feet and seen elephants in the water as the mountains to your left, so you've seen it from the air. So,
well, the shot I've got, this is your brochure, African Pride. You can pick it up at any good independent travel agent. I've got the balloons, and that's the most scenic one, the iconic ones, and they start off again 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning,
very early,
and you just float in complete silence if you want to.
Yeah, it's not inexpensive. I want to say it's not cheap and it's not expensive. It's all relative, but the experience is wonderful, and they do it in both Kenya and Tanzania in different times. And a Dawn hot air balloon ride is a very special experience. Has to be booked in advance, obviously.
Yes,
but well worth doing.
And the the one that I try and sell to people is, you've done the work in the first week, second week, why don't you go to the coast? And I went to Nyali, and we had a great time there, right on the beach. Go across to Mombasa, right on the beach, and there's quite a lot of hotels down that coast now.
Yeah, there's quite a stretch actually. There's Mombasa itself, and Diani is there, and a couple of other areas, and it is a nice combination at the end, because you get the quite, not hectic, but quite busy time on safari, as you say, with early mornings and quite a bit of travelling, and then a bit of an R&R at the end, just to chill and relax. I think you need that hit of wow, that was a great experience. But I was speaking to somebody last year who went on honeymoon, and they'd had the wedding on the Saturday and they flew out on the Sunday, and they had the safari experience, and what they said was, it was lovely and it was busy, and then we had the beach. But with hindsight, what we would have liked to have done is go have the wedding on the Saturday, fly out on the Sunday, do the beach first, and then do the safari experience after. And I'd never really thought of it that way.
It's recovering from the wedding.
Yeah, but so many people now, Ken, as you know, in the old days, everybody used to go on honeymoon immediately after the wedding. So many people now do it weeks or even months later.
Or a mini-moon is the other one, isn't it?
Well, that's maybe less of an issue, with relating to timing. But no, it's worth thinking about. It doesn't have to be safari beach. It can be beach and then safari.
Yes, I think you're good
Whichever
idea.
round.
But also, we did, when we were in Mombasa, we actually did an overnight in a tree house, and it's from the coast. You're going off with several vans, and we walked where the elephants were walking, and we had guides with guns and what have you, and not you could touch the elephant, but they were so close, and that was brilliant. And the evening we sat around the pool, or the lake. It was a small lake. A sea eagle came in, picking up the fish, and the monkeys came out the trees. Brilliant.
I think that's the point again. It's natural behaviour. I mean, most animals in all the wildlife areas across the whole of Africa, they're not tame in any way, shape or form, but what they are, they're habituated to vehicles and people being there.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise to them when they see a safari vehicle, because that's all they've been brought up with.
Yeah.
But no, they are wild animals. They are in the world. We are in their territory, and the guides and rangers are very good at protecting everybody and making sure it's done properly.
Well, I think you touched on something. The vehicle with the people in it is one animal, according to what they know. And because it doesn't threaten them, they don't, they can walk up to it and what have you. It's not threatening. That's why you see animals walking right by the side of a van or a vehicle there. So.
Sometimes they've been as close as you could, and you don't, and you won't, but you could put your arm out and touch an elephant's hide as it walked past you. They are that used to seeing vehicles. But just obey the rules that all the guides tell you, and you'll have an amazing experience.
Now then, we're going to go off to Tanzania. We've got some weather coming up as well, local news. But we're going to take you all around Africa. So if you're interested, please stay tuned. Now then, back with David, and we're doing Everything Africa today. So if you're looking forward to a holiday in the future, listen in, because we're down to Tanzania. We've just left Kenya and we're going south to Tanzania. So David, across the Serengeti, are we?
Yeah, right across there. I mean, there's some similarities between Kenya and Tanzania, because they are attached. There's a man-made border between, but the animals don't recognise man-made borders.
No.
So the animals, we've all heard of the Great Migration that goes through the Serengeti. It goes into the Masai Mara, which is in Kenya. So they go over the rivers in another country, and then they come back again, and they do that every year.
Without passport and visa.
Without passport and visa, but it's very unpredictable.
Yes.
We've had people who've travelled and tried to see it, and they missed it. You should have been here last week.
One of those.
And it happens. It's not Disney. They don't release the wildebeest at 11 a.m. It's very ad hoc. But there's certain trends that it follows. And again, if people want to do that, we know the right sort of times and places and people that we can maximise their opportunity of seeing it. And it is a spectacular experience.
Now, this is a more fly-around destination, isn't it? It's small aircraft?
It can be both.
Yeah.
But flying around, there are a couple of long drives in this if you do it by road. I've done it both by road and air. Air is great because you see things from the air and it's there quicker, but not everybody likes flying. Some people like to do it on a bit more of a leisurely pace.
Yeah.
So I think either or is the option there. If you go by air, it's a little bit more expensive, and they are in small aircraft as well. The 4, 6, 8, 10 seaters, those sort of aircraft.
Yeah. Talking about flying, direct flights from Manchester don't exist, unfortunately, but I was just saying to you off air, Amsterdam, possibly Paris, they'll take you into the East Africa, or obviously Heathrow with British Airways.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're flying into Kenya, it's normally Nairobi or Mombasa. And if you're going into Tanzania, it's Arusha or Dar es Salaam?
Not really Dar es Salaam, it's too far away. It's mainly only Arusha, but what most people do if they're going into Tanzania will fly into Nairobi, which is in Kenya, and then immediately transfer over to Tanzania to Arusha. It's the quickest way.
Yeah.
And also some of the Middle Eastern airlines fly those routes as well.
I was just about to say that. You beat me to it. Yeah,
great minds.
Yeah.
So people like Qatar and Emirates, for example, are another good alternative out of Manchester.
Well, these are expanding because they're now doing 3 times daily. Well, Emirates have done 3 times daily with the A380, but Etihad, again, 3 times daily. Qatar are building up theirs as well. And I read an article, everything seems to be going east from Manchester rather than west, which is good.
It is, and that's where there's good connections there, not only to East Africa, but to Johannesburg as well, for example.
Yes.
And Cape Town and various places, and into the Indian Ocean. So it becomes a good airline to use, particularly from the provinces, using our local airport here right on our doorstep.
Now then, you're telling me a little hidden secret about the west of Tanzania.
Yeah, everybody goes to Tanzania quite rightly to see the Serengeti, the Ngorongoro crater, and do those classic wildlife World Heritage listed destinations that we've all seen on the Attenborough programmes throughout the years. But another unusual thing that we do some of is over in West Africa, West Tanzania, near the Lake Tanganyika, and it's chimpanzee trekking. Everybody's heard of gorilla trekking in Rwanda and Uganda, and I think we might chat later on that. But chimpanzee trekking, which is a different experience, you're still in the tropical rainforest, but you're following a troop of chimpanzees, which is different because they tend to move a lot, whereas the gorillas tend to stay quite still.
Yes.
Not always, stationary, but very often. So it's a different experience. And again, something for someone who wants something different, a bit more adventurous with a small A, can look at taking on something like that. And we put numerous holidays together for people for that.
But if I'm not mistaken, there are gorillas in Tanzania as well?
No, up in Rwanda and Uganda.
Got that, but I thought there was a troop. This is just from a Tanzanian evening I went to.
Oh, well, they might be right. In the very north of Tanzania, maybe.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And we didn't know that until we went to this thing and they got them there.
Well, it's news to me if they are.
Yes,
that's great. If they're expanding.
Well, I'll check that when I leave. But should we move over to Rwanda and to Uganda?
By all means. Yeah.
Because Uganda, Rwanda, next door to each other again.
Yeah.
And they are famous for the gorillas, as in Dian Fossey, Gorillas in the Mist, the film, and what have you. Yeah,
that's it. And they've got a very famous wildlife sort of fund there that still operates. Look, it's very well controlled. It's very limited in numbers, but it is one of those experiences. And I've never done it, but some of my colleagues who work for African Pride have done it, and they all say it's one of the most incredible African experiences they've ever had.
But it's not easy peasy. You do have to trek, and it's mountainous.
It is, and the way that they look at you is when you get off the vehicles, when you arrive at any of the gorilla accommodation camps, they sort of weigh you up in terms of age, obvious looking fitness, that sort of thing. Yeah. And the older ones and the less able ones perhaps they'll put on the near, because there's very often 7, 8, 9 troops of gorillas in the area. Yeah. So it could be a half-hour trek or it could be a 3 or 4 hour trek each way. They have porters who will carry your bags with you, will help you up and down the slopes and that sort of thing. In fact, we did a booking a couple of years ago for a lady who was elderly, not very able to walk well. She wanted to take her family as a sort of a big last family holiday.
Nice one.
And we arranged for a canvas, I'm not going to call it a sedan chair, but if you imagine a chair on poles, it was a canvas chair on poles. Yeah. And we hired an extra 4 porters to carry her in the chair across exactly all the terrain with her family, so she could physically see the gorillas with her family that she was paying for as a last big fond family holiday. So it can be done. We can do anything like that.
That brings me to Out of Africa. Was it Meryl Streep and all that?
Meryl Streep and Robert Redford,
sort of back to that sort of era.
That era, exactly. Yeah. So look, it's an unusual one, but we can do it. And you have about an hour with the gorillas, and I'm going to use the word life-changing a little bit reservedly, but that's what people say it often is. Yeah. It really does have an impact on them.
Yeah, you can't touch them, and if they move towards you, you've got to stand still.
You've got to stay there.
That's it. I know a travel agent who did all this, took a daughter, absolutely fabulous, and she would do it again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's again the price of the permits are quite expensive, and all that money goes into protecting the gorillas from all sorts of things. But what's happened with Uganda and Rwanda is where it just used to be gorillas for 2 or 3 nights, now people are touring those countries for safari destinations as well, and we are getting incredible reports back from guests and clients who've been out there through their travel agents coming back to us and saying, wow, the wildlife in Uganda, the wildlife in Rwanda, as well as the gorillas, was phenomenal. So for those people who've done safariing in other parts of Africa, put it on your list as the next places to go.
Oh, I think this is education from the past, because weren't they considered not to be friendly? I'm trying to put it nicely.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
And I think now it's education that we now know they are friendly, and that basically they have got something to offer.
Well, yeah, and they've got more used to people. And I think if you know, anybody of a certain age will remember Rwanda 30 years ago, and it was that civil war and the terrible massacres that went place, and the country went to the dogs, really, and they were killing animals all over the place to get meat for food, and terrible time. That's gone. They've now reconciled themselves, and these two areas are now really beginning to redevelop.
We're in Tanzania, and we're moving over to Zanzibar.
Yeah, Zanzibar is a classic Indian Ocean beach destination that adds on to a safari, either pre or post, as I touched on earlier, but usually post. It has a wide range of hotels. There's not a great deal else then to do and see around the island. People tend to go there to R&R.
It's a beach destination.
And exactly. You have to pick your hotel properly and pick your time right, which again goes back to a travel agent giving you good advice. Flying usually from Arusha is very easy after a safari, and then there are flights back from Zanzibar via the Middle East, or you can go back into Nairobi and fly home from there. But it just works very well. It's just a nice way to end for that really, safari beach. Wonderful combination.
Well, to me, it sounds more exotic. It's a place I want to go to, not been. Freddie Mercury came from there.
He did. And I always have a theory. Any destination that has a Z, or in this case, two Zs in it, sounds exotic. No matter what it looks like, the Z makes it sound really quite, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. I think you're quite right there. I never thought of it like that. Yeah. But to me, I always had my imagination, Zanzibar. Yeah, one of those places you want to go to. So, moving on, where are we going to? Oh, I know, sorry, Kenya. I mentioned this off air, and I had a couple of nice ladies who went to see Giraffe Manor, which became famous off the TV.
Hugely famous, and ever since that day it was broadcast, the whole African travel industry has been inundated with inquiries. So two things on that. Number one, you have to plan ahead. General rule of thumb, about 18 months out.
I was going to say 2 years.
It. Yeah, 18 months, give or take, depending on the time of year. It is so popular. It's phenomenal. But we do have a couple of tips up our sleeve. Well, one main tip up our sleeve. If you just want to do Giraffe Manor for one night and in and out, and that's it, fine. You look at availability. If you want to do Giraffe Manor, but then also go to the game reserve that these people own up in further north in Kenya, it's often easier to get accommodation at Giraffe Manor because it's part of the same group.
They like to sell the group,
and we know that. So they're the tips again that we work with our travel agency partners on. But look, it's an amazing experience for those that have done it. Families love it, children love it, anybody loves it, to be honest. And very popular to do out in Nairobi, but combined very often with the other one, which is the Sheldrick.
The elephant sanctuary.
Exactly.
Yeah. These are little orphans, aren't they?
The little orphans, and they look after them and they feed them. And again, they are habituated hugely to their keepers. And you can a one-to-one relationship very often.
That's it. And you can adopt them.
You can adopt. You can sponsor. You can do all sorts of stuff.
That's a good word.
And it's part of that experience that you can do in and around Nairobi. But again, Giraffe Manor very much planning ahead. The Sheldrick, needs to be planned a little bit ahead, but maybe not as much time. And we can incorporate all of that into an itinerary for clients.
Well, I agree with you. I was doing mine. Clients, they went twice, 18 months apart, and it was an 18-month ahead booking.
Yeah.
And they thoroughly enjoyed it. Giraffe Manor, you feed the giraffe at breakfast, is that right?
Yeah, well, it comes in the sticks. It said, you have dining room on the first floor, and they come up to the manor, literally, it says a manor, and literally stick their heads in the windows, and they have some in the grounds as well. And you could argue they are tame, really, because they're literally eating out of your hand, coming into your breakfast table through the windows. And it's a unique experience. It really is.
It's a different one, isn't it? Yeah. So we've done more or less the east side. Can we move further south now?
By all means.
Where are we going to? Botswana?
No, let's do Zambia, Zimbabwe first. We'll leave Botswana till later.
Yeah, the Zeds again.
The Zeds, you see. Now, I'm putting these two together. They are very different in some ways, but they are next to each other. But the hook that binds them together is Victoria Falls.
Brilliant.
Because Victoria Falls is on the border of the two countries. at the Zambezi River with the country border going straight down the middle of the river and straight through the rail and road bridge that goes across the river.
Yeah.
So they are literally joined by that one bridge at the river's points there.
Now then, one thing that came across was visas at one time. Are we visa-free still? Or
No. Visas are required. In fact, just touching back on Kenya and Tanzania, they are e-visas as well.
Yeah.
A lot of them are now. A lot of them are e-visas now, so they're easier. Rather than having to send it off and apply, you can do them online, and we have all the guidance on that in the information we send out when a customer inquires. We send it out through the travel agent. So, you'll need visas there. And there's a bit of a tip, actually. Because of the bridge is connecting the two countries, some people often want to see the falls from two sides.
Yeah.
And if you go into one country and you need a visa for another, you'll have had to pay $50-odd for a visa in the first country and $50-odd in the second. But they have something now called a uni visa, a Casa Uni visa, which means that whichever country you go in, you can buy a uni visa for one $50 amount, call it a uni visa, and you're allowed to pop across the bridge and see the other country as well.
2 for 1.
So it's the best way to do it. So when you get to any of these places or when you're going online, apply for a Casa Uni visa. And even if you're not planning to do it in advance, you might decide to do it when you're in Victoria Falls and you've got your visa already. So it's called a Casa Uni visa, which is 50% of the cost of a visa for each country combined.
Can you spell me Casa?
K-A-Z-A.
A Z again.
Another Z.
Right.
It stands for something, but I can never remember what it is.
Yeah,
but,
don't worry. So long as we know what we do,
and a uni visa.
Your travel agent will help you get that one.
And that's a great way to do it. So, you do need visas, and they do charge you for visas.
Yeah.
The other countries in the southern part of South Africa, Southern Africa don't, but those eastern ones, in Zimbabwe and Zambia, do. Yeah.
Here's my tip, and the nearer to the falls, the higher the price for the hotel. Plus, they get booked up first.
Can do.
So you can be 5 miles down the road. You can still go back to the falls, but it's slightly cheaper.
Yeah, and also there's no hotel or lodge that physically looks out on the falls. If you've been to Niagara or even Iguazu in South America, the other classic falls, there are hotels that sort of overlook
you look
them.
Down. Yes.
Here they are very close, but you can't just see it. You have to go and do on a little trek or a little walk or with a guide or on your own, depending on which country you're in.
Sure.
But the falls are different on each side, and again, time of year becomes important here.
Seasonal.
Very seasonal. They've had the rainy season down there now, so the river's quite high. There's quite a bit of water. That will die off a little bit into March and April. Then the rains that happened in the far northern Angolan mountains, would you believe, all that water comes down the river system. So the falls start picking up in terms of volume late April into May and then June, and then begin to die off slightly. September, October, you get there's very little water indeed. Still worth seeing, but again, managing your expectations and understanding when the best time to go is.
You should have been here last week.
Exactly. You need to talk to travel agents to talk to us, and that's what we can put together.
Now then, with David from African Pride, we're going whizzing round Africa, rate of knots here, aren't we?
Well, we are, but just to finish off on Zambia and Zimbabwe, the other thing, it's not just Victoria Falls. It has some of the most amazing wildlife in there. Relatively fewer people go there than some of the other places. So if you're looking for a little bit more isolation, a little bit sort of authenticity, then Zambia, Zimbabwe have some phenomenal wildlife destinations. So it's an alternative worth considering, and you can fly into all of those places and combine it with Victoria Falls so easily.
Where would you go after Victoria Falls? Would you do the safari next?
Definitely, I would, And I think there's 3 ways to go, really. If you're going into Zambia, you can go up to any of the Kafue or Luangwa. They have those amazing old traditional wildlife reserves. In Zimbabwe, you've got Hwangi, you've got the Lower Zambezi National Park, you've got places like the Mana Pools and Matusa Donna, all these places that mean nothing to people in some ways, but looking on in our programs that we have on our website and in our brochure, we explain them a little bit more, and they are really wildlife hotspots. They are. And
you're not following another van, are you? It's usually, a lot quieter.
Usually you've got a lot of isolation there, and it's a lovely way to see it and do it. And interestingly, you mentioned walking safaris earlier. Walking safaris first started in Zambia with people like Robin Pope and Norman Carr, who still have operations in those areas. So, there's a lot of tradition there, a lot of history.
Yeah, if you want any more information, your local independent travel agent should be able to tell you. But we can also go through African Pride and ask them and say, they've got the information that we need.
We've got a great team. We're based in York. We've been over there since the late 90s. All of our team have visited lots of destinations in Africa many times. I don't know this figure exactly, but I think of the team that we have, there's over 200 years of Africa travel experience between the whole team. So we know it. We know what we're doing. And I think that gives everybody that deals with us, whether they be clients or agents, great confidence.
That's what we need to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Now then, moving on, aren't we? So where are we off to next?
We're going to Namibia.
You're taking us around very fast.
I know, well, there's a lot to cover. This is the thing, there's so many destinations. And when we were talking about this earlier, trying to narrow down what we talk about where. So Namibia now, which if you're looking at a map of Africa, South Africa's at the bottom. Namibia's up and left slightly.
Go west, northwest of it.
Up and left. Yeah. Namibia, again, is different. It's very strikingly scenic.
Right.
It's beautiful in the sense of not pretty beautiful, but I hate this American word, but awesome beautiful, if you know what I mean.
Is it? Awesome.
It's striking. It's spectacular. Big open skies, lots of space. There is wildlife there. Absolutely, there's wildlife there.
It's a very independent wildlife because they're not. The lions are not related to other lions. That's what I've seen on programs.
There's two lots of lions. There's the desert lions on the Skeleton Coast, and desert elephants, which are smaller.
Yeah.
You're lucky to see those. It's rare that you see them, but you might. But further north in the Etosha National Park, that's where they have a lot of wildlife, including lions, elephants, antelope, lots of semi-deserty type.
That's what comes across. It's the desert atmosphere rather than a jungly type atmosphere.
And huge sand dunes around a place called Sussusvlei.
I knew that.
Sussusvlei is where they have these amazing sand dunes that you can go and visit, and beautiful. A lot of people self-drive in Namibia. It's perfectly safe to do so. There are some tarmac roads in the main city and a couple of towns, but a lot of it is on gravelled roads, so it's not a 70 mile an hour self-drive. It's a, be careful, 40, 45 mile an hour self-drive. And accommodations pre-booked and all good directions are given, but you can do it with a small group tour. You can do it with your own driver guide that we can provide as well. Or again, because of the distances being Namibia, you can fly. There are flying safaris that we can do and flying holidays around Namibia. But a stunning, stunning place. I love it because it's different to the rest of Africa that we do.
That's what I was saying. It's in my mind, it's a desert with animals. But there's also the Skeleton Coast. And I actually sent a gentleman there fishing.
There you go.
A fishing holiday all that way. He loved it as well. So.
Yeah, we've done... Interesting you mentioned about fishing because, again, as a specialist tour operator for Africa, a lot of our clients who want to go want a specialist theme in their holiday. Is it fishing? Is it photography? Is it horticulture? Is it seeing the plants? Is it bird watching? Is it stargazing? Any and all of these things we can incorporate into an itinerary.
Well, I've actually got your pages here, 10 and 11, and it says specialist safaris, and we've even got golf.
Yeah.
Silent safari. What's a silent safari?
The silent safari is an interesting one because...
You wouldn't let me on it.
If you imagine the vehicles, the vehicles are diesel vehicles.
Yeah.
Silent safaris tend to be using now electric vehicles, which, as we all know, by default, are silent.
Yeah.
There has been no major issues, but obviously the animals have always been used to diesel vehicles and they can hear them a mile off before they see them. But with silent vehicles that are electric, the animals don't know if they're there until they see them.
Yeah.
And there's been an interesting sort of reports back on whether electric vehicles being great for the environment, but are they good for the animals? Because you can surprise an animal with an electric vehicle rather than knowing it was coming, as I say, a mile away. Yeah. So, the jury's out a little bit on it.
Sure.
But on that, actually, about electricity, a lot of the lodges and camps in the safari areas do run off off solar power, for example.
Yeah.
So they're very, very environmentally friendly, very sustainable. Some of them even don't have internet at certain parts of their lodges, so you can only use the internet maybe in the main lodge, not in your rooms, or vice versa.
But why do you go all the way to Africa to go on the internet?
Well, it's part of everybody's life now, isn't it?
Let's get away from it.
You and I are too old, but there's a lot of people who don't want to be away from it, whether it's work, whether it's the kids meeting their friends, So, but that's important to know. So if you do have a priority or a preference in those areas, let us know so that we can make sure we do put you in the right camp and not the wrong camp.
Yes.
That also applies, Ken, to what wildlife do you want to see?
Yeah.
Because not every safari area in Africa has the same animals. Certain things are absent in certain areas. Some things are more prevalent in certain areas. My wife loves giraffe, so if ever we go, we have to go somewhere where we're more likely, without being guaranteed ever, to see giraffe.
Yeah.
Other people might want to see see rhino, which are quite rare. Other people might want to see wild dog, or as you mentioned, hippos before, whatever it might be, or a certain bird, or the chances of seeing a certain bird.
Well, on page 10, you've got birding safaris, specialists in there. And I had a friend, a Twitcher, he knew everyone that moved, every single. He saw them before I did, days before I did. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. And there's lots of people like him. So anybody who's out there, birder or a Twitcher, because apparently there are slight difference there.
Bird watchers, there are. Like birding, Twitchers are going to go for the list.
Tick. That's it. Yeah. So you do these.
And different times of year, you'll often have different wildlife moving around. You'll have different migrations, both long and short. You'll have different bird life coming in and coming out. So again, anything that you want to know, talk to us, and we'll give you that right sort of advice to link you with what you want to see at the right time.
Flora to you.
Bless you.
You do specialists in flowers.
Yeah, particularly on the southern coast of South Africa. There's a couple of areas there. There's called the Fynbos, which is not far out of Cape Town, which has its own biodome, they call it.
Protea and all that sort of thing.
Proteas and lots of other wildlife. Yeah. Further up the west coast of South Africa, a couple of hours north of Cape Town, you have the spring flowers in their spring, which is September-ish, because obviously they're opposite to us, and they have thousands and thousands of spring flowers coming through at that time of year. And they have Kirstenbosch Gardens in Cape Town, and they just have some unique plants all over different places of Africa. And one of the most evocative things I love is when you're out on a game drive in certain areas and you'll suddenly pick up a smell of something, and it might be the wild sage plant, and suddenly you're surrounded by hundreds of sage plants and the air is full of it, or hibiscus, or whatever it is. There's so much that assaults the nose as well as the eyes when you're on safari.
You know what you're talking about, don't you?
A little bit.
African Pride have been creating holidays and safaris to Africa for almost 30 years, and our experts are knowing how, when and where to make the best personal holiday experience to suit each individual traveller. From the iconic Great Migration to the very best way to explore Cape Town and the Garden Route, and when best to visit the majestic Victoria Falls, to the most magical safari destination to enjoy the perfect sundowner, we know it all. Contact your local independent travel agent or call 019 046 19428 for your own individual holiday to Africa.
There we go, African Pride, and the gentleman right in front of me, David, is from African Pride, and he knows all things African. And we're off to Botswana, did you say then, David?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Botswana conjures up images of incredible sort of wildlife and scenery, and it is probably one of the top places in Africa to go for a safari, there's no doubt. Because of that, it's a little more expensive than some of the others, but there's a good reason why. The numbers of people that go there are relatively few. The camps are few and far between, but the actual delivery of the experience is huge.
I've sent quite a lot of people, and they've all come back.
It's phenomenal, and I've been there as well. So it does have everything that you need from a pure safari experience. Yeah.
Now, to get there, my man, you go through Joburg?
Fly down to Johannesburg and then connect straight on. And usually flights are overnight to Johannesburg, so you can go overnight, connect in the morning, arrive in Botswana near where all the game areas are. Usually get a light aircraft flight then to your camp. You're there early afternoon, bit of lunch, out on your first game drive by 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you're in it. You really are in it. And you need to pick your time of year again, like all of Africa. It's seasonal with weather.
Yeah. Well, can I tell you, my impression is dry or wet. That's it.
It really is, and that's both for the seasons and the ground. Because, I mean, the Kalahari Desert, which all of us have heard of, the biggest portion of it is in Botswana.
Wow.
It goes into South Africa and Namibia as well. But it's got the Okavango Delta, which is a river that, because of a geological fault, stops and goes into a delta, an inland delta. It doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. All rivers usually go to lakes or the sea. And because of that, after the rains, which is now really, the delta's beginning to flood a little bit, but it really is at its peak flood sort of April time, a bit like Victoria Falls, because it's the same river, water rainfall that covers it. So the water's there all year round, but it floods from April to May onwards, and that means there's more vehicles going in the water where it's shallow. a lot more activities on the water.
Canoes as well.
Yeah, they call
Paddle
them,
your own.
They call them macoros.
Okay.
With guys, and they're often punted.
Yeah.
A bit like they are in Cambridge.
Yeah.
And you get close up to wildlife. Again, the guys who do this are very knowledgeable and experienced, and they don't take you into areas where they shouldn't. But the wildlife is amazing. But it's a very authentic experience there.
Yeah, I've sold this a million times over the years, and I virtually know it without being there. And to me, everybody comes back raving. It really is good.
Yeah.
And I think the lodges, they're few and far between. They're not massive, are they?
A lot of them are quite small. A lot of them have five,
exactly.
6 beautiful rooms. Some have a few more. But what it does combine well with, and good thing about Botswana is, because yes, you've got the Okavango Delta, but you've also got land-based safaris as well. And what most people do, they'll do a 2 or 3 centre within northern Botswana, which gives them a water-based, a land-based, and then somewhere else maybe in the Chobe National Park, which has the river running through it and is famous for its elephants. It's got thousands of elephants.
That's the one I sell, yeah.
Yeah, Chobe. Yeah. But also, as I say, with the desert, you can combine it with a desert experience and have a sleep out in the desert. And that's when you also get that feeling of beautiful isolation. The stars in the sky like nothing you would ever believe.
I think this is Africa to me. As soon as you get away from the light pollution, it's there.
Yeah. The atmosphere is clear. Yeah. And the guides are all experts, and so they'll show you all the constellations, which are obviously different because you're in the southern hemisphere than we're used to. But no, that link of a Okavango Delta, a water-based, land-based, desert, Chobe, and it links well, going back to our early conversation about with Victoria Falls. That's another great way to get in and out of Botswana because it's relatively close. And one thing I will mention now is you've heard of the Rovos Rail, I think, which is a luxury train journey.
Yes, yeah.
Rovos Rail is a bit like the Orient Express.
Yes.
And they have journeys that go to and from Victoria Falls to Pretoria, which is near Johannesburg. And that, again, links very well. So if you like the idea of a luxury train journey with Botswana, with Victoria Falls, classic combination that we sell a good number of every year.
Yeah, Rovos Rail has got a fabulous reputation.
Yeah.
It's, as I say, it's like the Orient Express.
It is.
Africa.
It's amazing.
And a booker early again for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there was a programme recently, within the last 12 months, I was watching, and they took you on the journey.
Yeah.
And I think it's totally within South Africa, but it was brilliant.
Yeah. They have a series, They do some in South Africa. They actually do one from Cape Town up to Victoria Falls, up to Dar es Salaam. They've done one from Angola to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. They'll do Gulf safaris in South Africa. They do other different ones. They do Cape Town, Pretoria is the main one, but they do a various ranges. So again, if anybody's interested, get the travel agent to call us and we'll happily talk to them about them.
People don't think of Africa as trains, do they? I mean, was it Nairobi, Mombasa?
Yeah.
It's not a high-speed train, but it's a faster train now.
It's not high-speed, it's not luxury, but the service is there.
That's right.
In fact, there's a place in the Kruger National Park in South Africa, which we'll come on to later, where there's a stationary train that's been made into accommodation.
Oh, wow.
On a bridge on the track overlooking a river called Salati. And, that's another way that they use it. They're very innovative out there. They really do make the best of what they've got. They really do.
Just thinking back, I'm in Rotary, and what was the one before Rotary. However, we hosted people, and this group came over from South Africa. And the gentleman came, this is how old I am, the gentleman came from Rhodesia.
Yeah.
Right? And we took him on the East Lancs steam train, thinking it was a surprise. And he turns up and he says, we got 5 million steam trains in what was Rhodesia.
Yeah, exactly.
So trains in South Africa go together, don't they?
They do. We don't recommend people to use the public trains down there, but certainly the ones that are booked that are private, that link in with a holiday experience without a shadow of doubt. Yeah.
Any more on Botswana for us?
Yeah, certainly. Other things about Botswana is that wildlife hit, but there is that sort of feeling of doing it properly when you're out there. The other thing about safaring, and again, even in Botswana, you don't need to dress up like Dora the Explorer. It is good to wear, neutral clothing and things that are comfortable. Try and wear cottons and linens and things.
But don't wear red.
Well,
this is a big tip that came up this week. Don't wear red. Apparently, it's a danger signal for animals.
Well, the irony is in East Africa with the Maasai tribes,
they wear
red.
They wear red.
Of course
so
they
it's a
do.
bit of a misnomer.
Yeah.
But bright colours, less so. Neutral colours, comfortable colours,
Yeah.
more so.
Yeah.
But, there's no hard and fast rule, to be honest.
No,
there really isn't.
it was something that stuck out to me. I went, yeah, I know this one, but it just stuck out to me. And the other thing is also, we were mentioning different tribes. Try and learn a few words of their language because they love you.
Hello, thank you, goodbye, all those things are very easy to learn.
And where's the toilet?
which is difficult in South Africa when they've got 11 languages. So good luck with that one. English being one, so we're okay there. But try a bit of Afrikaans or Xhosa or any of the other Shona or any of the other languages down there. There's a lot of them.
But I was doing the Maasai in the Maasai Mara. I was doing the Swahili. They loved it.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, okay.
It's showing respect as well, I think.
Exactly, but it's fun. You break the ice. So anywhere I go, I try and exactly what you say. Yes, please. No, thank you.
And do it with a smile. You'll go a million miles. You really will.
Still with where's the toilet?
You're a bit obsessed with that, but I get it.
Yeah. Well,
actually, here we go. On safari, and you're out in the bush. If you want to go to the toilet, there are not toilets.
No, there are bushes.
The bush becomes your toilet. So just bear that in mind. So a little bit of hand sanitizer, a little bit of, and you can't leave any residue behind. So you have to take anything with you. So little bags that you need to put anything in there is quite important as well.
And maybe a loo roll.
That's what it So just
you're really desperate.
And again, on our notes that we send out, we give you all the help and advice for things like that.
First Class Holidays, your UK long-haul tour operator, bringing you the world's most stunning destinations. From Canada's rugged beauty and Australia's beaches to New Zealand's breathtaking landscapes and America's vibrant cities. Explore South Africa, Japan's blend of old and new, the culture of Southeast Asia, the colour of India, the wonders of Central and South America, and idyllic island escapes. Contact us today on 016 18885 or visit your local travel agent.
Right. There we go. Round the world with First Class Holidays, your local tour operator based in Manchester, would you believe? I love them so much. I go to all their parties, whether they like it or not. Meanwhile, back with David, he quickly moves on, and we're doing all of Africa, and we're in Botswana at this minute in time. Very seasonal, wet, dry, bit of desert there as well, and flying from Joburg. Just talking about flying down to Joburg again through the Middle East, Emirates, what have you, KLM, or anything over Heathrow.
Yeah, direct from Heathrow is usually the most popular way. And I say an overnight flight is good. And the huge thing about all of Africa, really, but Southern Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, it's a 1 or 2 hour time difference depending on the time of year.
No jet lag.
No jet lag.
Yeah.
East Africa is 3 or 4, so again, no real jet lag. It's shorter flight, obviously, because if you're looking at a map of Africa, and we do from the equator, Kenya, down to South Africa, it's about a 5 hour flight from Cape Town to Nairobi. So it's a huge place, which is not far less than here to New York, for example. Which is why when you're planning a trip, talking to us or working through a good travel agent means that you're not going to try and cram too much in where you're travelling too much. You're going in the right direction. You're doing it in the most cost-effective way round and linking all the relevant parts together that work.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. I can talk to 100 people on the street about their Africa holiday and they'll all want something different.
Yes.
And that's where, again, we come in to sort of create that individual holiday to suit that person.
It's absolutely brilliant. This is what I do in my own head as well, because I know everybody's different. And you suss out your client, that they're not going to do climbing Kilimanjaro this week or whatever. And I think the thing is that they've all got their own individual aspects, and they're what they want to do, and you've got to marry it up with the reality of things as well.
Listen to what they want and try and make it work, but also manage expectations as well.
Sure.
Clients are wonderful people, but sometimes they might come up with something that isn't doable or isn't workable, and so we need to work with that.
Now then, just a thought there. Ethiopian Airlines from Manchester going daily through the summer now, and they've got a fantastic base at Addis Ababa, and they cover most of Africa, and they've got so many awards, that airline.
They have, and I've known people who've flown with them, not done it myself, but they're good. They really are. The product's good. Turkish Airlines is another one, so the traditional ones that we've named that everybody knows, there are some other good ones as well, and often can be advantageous on price as well.
Yes, exactly. Just to mention, Ethiopia and Addis Ababa is getting a new airport being built now. It's going to be one of the best in Africa. Meanwhile, moving on to South Africa. Here we go, David. You're going to lead us all
all the way through. It's such a big place. I've been several times with you as well.
I know, there we
And
go.
I survived.
I know. People are going to start talking about us, Ken. Look, it is a big place, and there's two distinct sort of reasons why you have to think about it properly. One is distance, and one is climate. Now, if you look at, again, of a map of Africa, South Africa, the west side and the southern side is on the Atlantic Ocean. Atlantic Ocean, cold. Next stop further south is Antarctica. If you go up the eastern side of South Africa, it's the Indian Ocean. And straight away you're thinking of Indian Ocean islands and beaches and that. So there are very distinct weather patterns in South Africa. Different seasons, different parts of the country can be wet, dry, hot, cooler. It's rarely cold, but hot, cooler. You do sometimes, for example, get snow on Table Mountain in the middle of their winter, which is June, July. Quite rare, but the locals love it when they do, because it rarely happens.
It's different.
You get snow in the high mountains of Lesotho, which are the Drakensberg, which border South Africa. But then conversely, you'll get 35, 40 degrees and high humidity in KwaZulu-Natal on the east of Africa at different times. So planning again, talking to someone, understanding what it should be like, not will be like, because climate all over the world has gone a bit
You can't
strange,
guarantee anything, yes.
But there are general patterns. In fact, recently, this last month, January, there were quite high, severe rainfall in the Kruger National Park.
Oh, really?
Which is in the northeast of South Africa, where there have been floodings. And bridges have gone, and roads have been, some roads have been affected, and some camps were affected. And then conversely, at the same time, because it's high summer in the Cape, around Cape Town, and Franschhoek, which is in the Winelands, there were some forest fires up in the hills around Franschhoek.
Oh, really?
So you had fires in one part of South Africa because of the heat, and heavy rainfall in another. So, it's not a problem in itself, because, people work around them, and it's not affected the tourism in Franschhoek. Some of the tourism in Kruger's been affected, but they'll get it right. They do. It's Africa. They're used to extremes.
Exactly. Now then, a couple of things came to mind. So should we start off on safari in the Kruger? Because it's huge.
It's huge. The Kruger, everybody says somewhere is as big as somewhere, and it's often
Wales.
It's often Belgium, but the other one is Wales.
Yeah.
And the Kruger is as big as Wales.
Yes, that's right.
You can actually go in the Kruger National Park as a visitor after sunrise in your own car, drive around for the day, and leave by sunset. Or you can stay in one of the South African National Park camps there. And locals do. They do that a lot. So particularly the Kruger can be quite busy at the weekend, because people that live close will go up there and go in for the weekend. Or if it's the school holidays, Easter, their summer school holidays, whatever it might be.
Take advantage.
But what most European visitors do is go into the more private game reserves that are there, where you don't get members of the public. You get the Botswana experience, in that you don't see many vehicles at all. The wildlife is phenomenal, but like all things, you pay a price for it. It's a little bit more expensive. It is quite a bit more expensive, to be realistic, but it's worth the experience, because you get your own driver guide. You get close up to the animals. Again, the animals are very habituated. So the private reserves in the Kruger, in places like Sabi Sand or Timbavati or Thorny Bush, or all these names that come up, are phenomenal. The great thing about the Kruger is you can access it by 3 different airports, really.
Yes. And you've got to know these before you go, or your travel agent should
get the right one, exactly. There's one slightly further north, one slightly further south, and there's one that flies from Cape Town, for example, straight into the Kruger. So you get off the flight, small airport, you come off a jet aircraft, get your bags, the guide meets you, you're in the vehicle, out the gate, and as soon as you're out the gate, you're on your first game drive.
Yeah.
The wildlife is there. I've been out of the gate in 2 minutes and seen elephants and impala right there. Yeah. So it's your game drive is on the way to your lodge, which is a lovely way to start. It really is.
I think that is fabulous, because I did this with another company. Sorry about that.
All right, you're allowed.
I actually won it, names out of hat, as they do, and Kenya off to South Africa. And flying into Joburg, within an hour and a half, we were in a game park.
That's it.
And the elephants were there not to greet us, but they were there immediately.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the next day, as we went out, in fact, they came into the camp, because we all had little individual splash pools.
Yeah.
And the elephants came in to get the water.
Yeah, can happen.
So you can open the curtains, there's an elephant 10 yards away from you.
There's some things to mention there, because some people get a little bit cautious of saying, are animals there? And in a number of camps all over Africa, actually, there can be what's called free roaming.
Yes.
There are other camps that maybe will have a fence round. So again, if anybody is thinking about, particularly when they've got families, younger families, don't want maybe free roaming animals, then talk to the travel agent, talk to us, and we'll work out the ones that are best to suit. Because, you know, we want people to feel comfortable and feel relaxed in that environment. And you're right about pools. You know, if you want something with a pool or something with a wellness room or a spa or whatever it might be, they're the little bits of extra info that we need from you or need from a client to then tailor-make it to suit their requirements.
Yeah, this one opened my eyes because I'd done several safaris, but this one was upmarket. We flew Virgin from Heathrow. We didn't mention them, but that's the airline that we flew with. Good service on board. But it was just the aspect of flying into Joburg. An hour and a half later, you're on safari. That is your holiday. Mine was work, of course.
Of course, I work, yeah. Well, this is really amazing. I've been to Africa many times. I've been twice on holiday, which was lovely and leisurely, but I've been many, many, many other times with work. And you cram a trip in there that may be a 4-day trip and you're seeing so much, and it is great, don't get me wrong, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world.
It's somebody else's 2-week holiday,
but you're on the go and you're doing, as you say, 2-week trip in 4 days. But look, it's
we're not moaning.
It's what we do. No, it's what we do. It's what we do.
I love it. So we're in Kruger and you've dissected it. Seasonal rains.
Again, nobody's going to remember all this detail, but it's all available through our brochure, through our travel agent, through our website. But seasonal rains there tend to be November into December, January. People often say, when's the best time to?
Yes, always.
The best time is always difficult, but as a generalisation, there's never a bad time in the Kruger. But as I said, we've had floods recently. So the best time probably is April to October. Reason being, if it's raining now, and it has rained, the greenery springs up and then it dries off, and then bit by bit throughout the year it begins to die off. So when it gets to April time, there's still a lot of water around in the water holes and the vegetation's beginning to lessen. So by the time it gets to October, there's less water in the waterfalls and rivers and the vegetation's really gone. So that's easier to see the animals. So April to October you could class as the Kruger as being the classic best time, but don't let that put you off going from any other time, because people will go at any time of year because the wildlife is so good.
Of course. Now the other one that a lot of people ask for is the garden route. But half the time they don't know what the garden route is. Can you just describe it?
It's the most misnamed route in the world.
It's not gardens.
I've yet to see a garden on the garden route. It's generically an area from a place called Moselle Bay out to Plettenberg Bay, which is a very southern part of South Africa. It covers an area that really starts in Cape Town, goes through the winelands, and then takes in the garden route proper. And it's about a 600-mile trek across that region. And most people do it probably in a week, maybe a bit more if you're taking in Cape Town for a few nights.
And just do it one way?
You can do it either way. You can do it as a bit of a circle. The classic first-time itinerary to South Africa includes Cape Town, the winelands, which are about an hour and a half away, and then across the garden route, and then a couple of nights on safari at the end of a game reserve.
That's just Port Elizabeth, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's a classic itinerary that we've done many, many, many hundreds of over the years. There are lots of variations on that. So, for example, people are often interested in seeing the whales in the south coast. And to do that, it's mainly July to November down in a place called Hermanus, where most days you can almost be guaranteed with a small G of seeing the whales from the coast. You don't even have to go out from in a boat.
In fact, this is me on another trip, and the whale was from me across the road. Mrs. with the calf, and it was just there for us. I was like, this is brilliant.
From the land.
From land.
I know. So again, all those little things come into play, and again, it's not cramming in too much. What that part of South Africa has is beautiful scenery and beautiful accommodation. It really does. Again, the vast majority, probably 3/4 of people who do that drive themselves, and we give them the route to stay and all the directions and all the accommodation.
R62 off the top of my head.
R62 and the N2 and all these different routes. And there are little variations. And my advice to people is always, whatever accommodation you're staying in, talk to the people there, the people who own the property, and just say, look, tomorrow we're going to drive to our next accommodation, which is a 3-hour drive, but what can we do en route? And they'll recommend that lovely little dairy or that lovely shop or that lovely little place for lunch on the coast. I'm going to approach it because we do get asked a lot, is it safe? Well, everywhere is as safe as it can be, providing you're sensible and follow, the rules that you should.
Well, I'm just going to tell you a story. It's not to frighten people, but I had the gentleman and they stayed in downtown Cape Town, and I said, do not go out And I was told after 5 o'clock by yourselves. What did the gentleman do? Go out after 5 o'clock, and guess what? He did get mugged. However, saying that, I've sent so many people that nothing's happened.
I've been with the business, dealing with Africa 15 years, and I can count on less than one hand the number of issues our clients have, and it's been where they've not just followed their advice.
Exactly.
The big thing in Cape Town to get around is Ubers. Uber is predominant out there like nothing else. It's phenomenal. We can arrange transfers to and from airports and to and from places, absolutely, and we do that a lot. But local getting around to a restaurant for a meal, or if you're not staying on the waterfront, to get down to the waterfront is take an Uber.
Right, you just take the words out of my mouth. The waterfront, what is the waterfront?
It's called the V&A waterfront, not Victorian Albert, but Victorian Alfred.
The son of.
The son of, well done. And it's an area that was the basically docks.
Yeah.
And there is still a bit of a small working harbour there, but it's now been redeveloped over the past 30 years into a shopping leisure complex. So there's shops, restaurants, bars, outdoor entertainment, galleries, and hotels as well, all around that area. And it's perfectly safe to walk around there anytime, to be perfectly honest.
I actually remember you taking us to the docks. This is a group of travel agents, and we went to a container port.
Yes.
And I can't remember what it was. Was it a restaurant or a bar?
Yeah, we went down to some sort of weird bar nightclubby thing.
Yes,
I seem
that's
to remember,
right,
and did something there.
You take us astray, do you?
That's right, yeah.
But brilliant. Absolutely
but
brilliant.
And that's the whole point. I mean, don't be put off by people saying, no, it's Manchester on a Saturday night.
Is as badass.
It's probably not the sort of place you want to be walking around at 10 o'clock
Correct.
with your expensive jewellery on and your phone flashing in your hand. You know, use the common sense you would have at home.
But to me, the waterfront was a safer point.
Absolutely it is.
And you can walk within there, shops, bars, restaurants, and it's based on the waterfront, as you said.
Yeah.
And I loved it because the beaches are outside of town, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you go further down the Cape, you've got the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic, like we said.
Cape Point, yeah.
And we've got penguins down there.
The penguins at Boulders Beach,
that's right,
are renowned, and everybody that goes to Cape Town wants to see the penguins at Boulders Beach. And because of that, it's very busy. Any day trip that takes you down to Cape Point will come back via the penguins.
Yeah.
And it is lovely. It is brilliant. There is another place, interestingly called Betty's Bay, which is going out towards Hermanus in the Wales region, which is 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half out of Cape Town, which is much quieter than the big touristy area at Betty's, and Boulders. And I've done both, and they're both really good. But the one out on the ocean edge, Betty's Bay, to me had more of an impact.
It's knowing this.
There was
isn't
about
it?
10 people there.
Yeah, it's knowing
there was
it.
about 1,000 people at the one at
Looking
Boulders
for the
Beach.
penguins.
So again, little tips on that.
Penguins in Africa.
I know.
Whoa,
Even when it's 40 degrees, there's penguins there, and you can see them panting away. Going up the mountain, easy to do. The cable car up and down. You can walk up, but again, the advice is don't do it on your own.
No.
There's local apps you can get down there that will link in with other groups that are walking up the mountain, and it's better to do it as a group just to be safe, or on a guided tour. But the cable car is the easiest and best way to get up.
And when you get to the top, there's an elephant type relative. It's an animal related to an elephant.
The closest relative of this really small, sort of rabbit-sized rock hyrax is the elephant, and you'd never believe it looking at them, but they are the biological closest relative.
And
you see them very close. The other good thing in Cape Town that I always say to people is, look, about the open-top red bus tours that are in many cities around the world. They have them in Cape Town, and it's a fabulous way just to familiarise yourself with the area. So they are worth booking as well. Trips to Robben Island, weather permitting, because it can be quite rough. Go off from the waterfront as well.
Robben Island is famous for
the Nelson Mandela place where the prison was. He was there for 20 odd years.
We went to his cell, which is about 6 foot by 6 foot, and he had to live there. But his mental ability was great. He had a garden, and that's what kept him going.
Exactly.
A little garden, not very big, and that's what kept him going.
It's very moving going to see that.
It is,
really
isn't it?
And it is very popular. So booking things in advance is always advisable, particularly in the busy season, which is December to March is the busiest season there. But you can go anytime. Cape Town is just one of those spectacular places.
We should all be there now, don't you think?
Oh, it'd be lovely, wouldn't it? And then we'll touch on the Winelands maybe shortly.
We'll do it next, because I'm just looking at the time here. We've got, if I play music now, we'll be out of time. So you tell me about the Winelands.
Quickly now then, the Winelands about an hour and a half. Very popular, beautifully scenic. The two main areas are Franschhoek and Stellenbosch. Two different towns. Franschhoek is a village, small, beautiful, scenic, wineries surrounding it. Lovely place to visit. Stellenbosch is a town. It's a university town.
It is.
So it's bigger, more people, more going on. It's scenic in its own way because it's got some quite good Victorian architecture and Cape architecture. But anywhere around that region is well worth a visit, and so many people take it on board. You don't even need to stay there if you don't want. You can actually go out on a day trip. And the big attraction in Franschhoek is the wine tram, which again is a slight misnamed thing, although some of it is by tram, the rest of it is by a vehicle which is made up to look like a tram. But you get wine tasting around the wineries, lunch somewhere en route that you can buy. Again, a little tip, inside knowledge, good not to do it maybe at the weekends, because a lot of the Cape Townians come out and do it at the weekends, particularly in the season when it's the summer season or holiday weekends. So and they can get quite busy. But again, from the high street of Franschhoek, there's only one street really in Franschhoek, Main Street. The wine tram picks up there, and it's a lovely way to spend a day. It really is.
Yeah, I got a little story there. You took us again, these agents, and misled us, of course. I think there's about 100 of us, and we're having a little picnic in a winery area, and a girl comes walking towards me, not clutching her throat, but a sign was she was choking, and she walked towards me, and I'm going, what's going on here? And as she got towards me, I went, get into Ken's mode here, jumped up, knew what to do, but never done it. And this is Heimlich maneuver. So I got behind her and I did Heimlich maneuver. And then she's, oh, you saved my life. And you walked over about 10 minutes later, said, did I see what I just saw? Did you see that girl's life? And I went, yeah, but leave me alone. I didn't want
to. He's very modest about it. He doesn't like talking about it. No, I do remember that. And
it was like,
one of those weird, surreal experiences.
Wasn't it? And why me out of all the 100 people?
I know. Because you were the oldest, that's why.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm the one that she thought I'd qualify. David, I'm going to say on that note, thank you very much for coming in today.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you for taking us all around Africa. And it's African Pride, if you want to mention that one more time. And best of luck for the summer again. For all the bookings you're going to get.
Well, I hope so. And I just encourage anybody to think about Africa as a holiday. You know, it is one of those destinations. People often call it a bucket list destination.
Yes.
It often isn't, because people, once they've been once, want to go back to Africa and do it again. So, you know, it's rarely a one-off visit.